Drug king, who was for years one of the world's most wanted men, was gunned down today by Colombian police in the Colombian city of Medellin. His drug cartel was named for the city he controlled for so long. He was only 44, old enough for cocaine to have made him one of the richest men in the world, rich and ruthless enough to have hundreds of people who got in his way killed, from people who ran drugs to people who ran the country.
On December the 2nd, 1993, a 16-month operation came to a bloody end on the rooftops of Los Olivos. After a short exchange of gunfire, Colombian soldiers raced up to a rooftop and yelled in victory. They had just shot down the most infamous drug lord in history, Pablo Escobar. Or so they claimed. But who really brought down the kingpin? More than a year before his death, Pablo Escobar escaped from prison, and it's no wonder he was able to escape. He built the prison himself. It was part of a deal that involved him surrendering to Colombian authorities in exchange for not being extradited to the United States. But when reports came out that murders, executions, and tortures were going on in that facility, the Colombian government ordered for him to be moved to a standard prison. That's when Escobar fled and a nationwide manhunt began. The president ordered for his capture, dead or alive. It turned out that Pablo's fatal mistake was reaching out to his family. After being in hiding for so long, he wanted to speak to his loved ones. By the morning of December 2nd, Escobar was around 20 pounds heavier than when he first escaped from prison. He spent most of his time eating, sleeping, and hiring prostitutes, so on that fateful day, his blue jeans were rolled up just to fit his overweight body. He made another call to his wife by posing as a journalist. She was at a hotel in Bogota with her kids, trying desperately to get out of the country. They had made it as far as Germany before the government had them sent back to Colombia. This scared Pablo because he believed that the authorities were collaborating with Los Pepes, a vigilante group dedicated to bringing down Pablo's associates. Los Pepes had kidnapped, bombed, and killed Pablo's family over the last few weeks. This was good news for Searchblock because it meant that Pablo was worried. So he would be calling the hotel often. Most of his calls were short and sweet. He was careful. He knew that the phones were tapped, and he even used a mobile transmitter in a moving car to help disguise the location. He had been changing location by buying up different houses throughout Medellin. Pablo still had plenty of cash to burn, but his biggest problem was making sure his family were safe. But on the 2nd of December, he called again, and this time for too long. Pablo spoke with his wife, Maria Victoria, and his son, Juan Pablo. But little did he know that the Colombian authorities were listening in every time, slowly zeroing in on where the call was coming from. Those listening in were part of the Bloque de Búsqueda, or Search Block, which was a set of 3 units within Colombia's national police with the objective to hunt down Pablo Escobar. They were specially trained for spying, combat, and investigating. Most importantly, they were all selected because they were unlikely to be corrupted by Escobar. This group of trained killers spent all of their time tracking down and searching for the Cocaine King. By now, they had triangulated Escobar's calls to the neighborhood of Los Olivos and had a surveillance team ready to track an exact location. All they needed was for him to make another call. The day before December 2, on Pablo's birthday, the drug lord had called his family. Colonel Hugo Martinez, who was leading the search block operation, had his son tracking the calls, but he couldn't locate it in time. Just after 1 p.m., he called the Tequendama Hotel and asked to speak with the Escobar family. Because he was ringing under the guise of a journalist, his first 2 attempts were rejected. After he finally got through, he spoke with both his wife and son for a few minutes. He gave his son advice on how to present their case to the media to try and lobby support in the international community. After that, Pablo hung up quickly. Hugo Martinez and the police were not able to track the call in time. They thought they had missed their chance. Then, at 3 p.m., Pablo called back. Pablo's son, Juan Pablo, read questions from a journalist to his father and asked for his response. This is how he had been communicating with the outside world and sending messages. The search block were driving around Los Olivos looking for where Pablo's call was originating from. They thought they had found him. After one failed raid of an office building, the surveillance officer realized that it was the wrong location. They were listening in on Pablo's conversation at the time and could hear that there was no reaction to the police raid. As the two spoke, Hugo Martinez Jr. rolled around in a van through Los Olivos in a middle-class neighborhood. The van crept past the street where Pablo was housed, and bingo, a blip on the screen enlarged. It was pointing towards a 2-story house. When the van went up the street, Hugo spotted Pablo with his own eyes staring near a window. He couldn't believe it, and neither could Pablo Escobar, who immediately stepped back from the window, but it was too late. That's when the phone conversation ended abruptly. Pablo wished good luck to his son and hung up. Now they were sure that they had the right location. It was a 2-story house located at Carrera 79B, number 45D in Los Olivos, west of Medellin. He had been living there for 15 days before that day, but it would be his final resting place. When the search block assault team broke down the front door with a sledgehammer, they immediately ran through the empty first floor for the stairs up to where Pablo had been spotted. Pablo was only protected by one man, his personal bodyguard, Jesus Agudelo. The search block opened fire on Agudelo as he jumped through a window at the back of the house, killing him before he landed. Meanwhile, Escobar went out the same window and stayed close to a wall as he tried to escape. He had a rifle on him and began to open fire at the police. As he made a break for it and tried to cross to the other side of the roof, he was hit with a burst of bullets in his thigh, his back, below his shoulder, and was killed by one that went through his right ear and out the other side of his head. This is when the infamous picture of Escobar's body surrounded by smiling soldiers was taken by the first American on the scene, a DEA agent named Steve Murphy. Pablo Escobar was the most famous drug lord to ever live. He managed his global empire from the Colombian town of Medellin, but it all came crashing down in 1993 on top of a rooftop surrounded by the Special Task Force. After Escobar's death was announced, his family refused to believe that it was the police who brought him down. He had stated before that if he were ever cornered by the authorities, he would rather commit suicide by shooting himself in the ear than letting them take him into custody or end his life. Pablo's son, who now goes by the name Sebastian Marroquin, said that he believes his father killed himself so that his family would be free from rival drug gangs. Just the year before, Sebastian went by his original name, Juan Escobar, and was on the phone with his father minutes before he would die on that rooftop. In 2006, Pablo's body was exhumed for DNA testing. His family wanted to confirm that it was really him. The DNA test confirmed it and removed any shadow of a doubt that the world's most infamous and successful drug lord was dead.